I have the pleasure of introducing our next guest speaker. Oh, she's a wonderful speaker. Her name is Patrice Porter. She's also known as the gardening grandma. Now, Patrice is a master cultivator who nurtures timeless art of gardening while sowing the seeds of survival skills in future generations. With her experience, she not only teaches the art of growing fresh and nourishing foods, but she also tends to the growth of resilient families as a dedicated parent support coach. She is the author of the book series Bringing Out the Potential of Your Children and co-authored a #1 best-selling book, No Problem Parenting: Raising Your Kiddos with More Confidence and Less Fear. She also is a co-author of another international #1 bestseller, The Parenting Owner's Manual, the A to Z's of raising a happy, healthy family from 34 experts around the world. Oh my goodness, Patrice has so much experience, especially when it comes to children. So I want to welcome you, Patrice. I am so happy that you're here today. And I wanted to ask you, #1, gosh, you have done so many things with children and nutrition and gardening. So tell me, how did you get started with that?
Well, I landed my dream job working as an educational associate, and it was in a child-centered education program. It was called Play and Exploration, lots of fun. And it was a position where I could see that potential in the kids. Like child-centered means that you're piquing the interests of the children or picking up on their interests and developing like invitations or uh, trying to grow that interest. And to me, it was led us a way to be able to see the potential in children. And then when you could nurture that, you get to watch them blossom. So that's what warms my heart. That's what makes it. I love working with kids, and I used to call it opening new worlds to them.
Oh,
It,
wow.
it it's all like it can be all new to them. And the one world I really enjoyed opening was to open that world of gardening to them and give them that life skill of being able to garden and grow their own food and let them have that up close connection to nature. I'm finding like nowadays with with the kids, they spend so much time on their devices. It's so nice
Yeah.
alternative where they can get their hands in the dirt and so I love doing that. I wrote the book series, and volume 2 is on gardeners, and built courses because I want to give that life skill to the kids to let them know, that they can be growing their own food. They can have a garden of like a space that they're really going to enjoy spending time in. And I found too, the gardening, it's not just about growing that fresh, nutritious food, but it can be used as a vehicle, like for putting your child on a trajectory to be independent. They
Hmm.
start to have their own garden and doing things on their own there, responsible if they've got living things and they made the commitment to have a garden. It builds responsibility, like patience, so many things there. And so that really inspired me to get the programs out there, get the kids
Well,
involved. Having
yeah.
like family gardens are even greater. Do it together.
Oh my gosh. But you know what's really wonderful is your whole being lights up when you talk about being with the kids. And I love that. It's so authentic, and I can see that. How old are most of the kids? Are they very young?
Well, if they're taking the gardening program, the Got Dirt gardening for kids, and they 7 years old, like I built it for the kids to consume.
Yeah.
They're going on an adventure with Mother Nature. And so they can, 7 years old, they could do it on their own. But I always, again, encourage the parents to do it with them, or whoever wants to pass that
Hmm.
skill on, do it with them, because it can be a terrific bonding experience. So, and then it's a skill like it can last a lifetime. So, and I talk about opening it to the kids, but for anyone, I became the go-to person for all things gardening in my neighborhood. Because I really, I'd be reading all these books. I'd go to all these workshops. I started a business growing coniferous seedlings for reforestation. I've got like 6 different gardens on my homestead, types of gardens on my homestead here. I used to have a website where I did a lot of curating on the different types of gardening. And then, of course, I had to try it out and apply it. And I think that's really what led to me being that go-to person, that it's like, oh, Patrice, I've got, I even had one woman came out and she had a succulent. She was given as a gift a succulent plant, and it was in this, clay container. And she says, "What's wrong with my plant?" And I says, "Did you give it some water?" And she, oh, I was like, okay, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. And you said you have different types of gardens on your property. What are when you're going to work with children, do you start with vegetables or I mean, because I know kids kids just love to see things grow. I know my grandkids would bring home like the pea, like
Yeah.
the one sprout, and they'd be like, look what I grew, So I was wondering, what's the best thing that to start with a child? Something that grows quickly, or
Well, when I work with kids, one of the first things I ask is, what type of garden would you like to have? And you'd be
mm,
surprised what they come up with. My one friend, it was my grandniece, and she said, "I want a Halloween garden." And I said, okay. And there's those white skinned pumpkins that look like ghosts in the pumpkin patch. So we got some of those going. She said, "I want sweets in my garden." I said, okay. And I had a stevia plant, which is like 10 times sweeter than sugar. So I took a cutting of that. So she had her sweets. And then we put in some, well, she wanted a black cat silhouette. And I happened to have a wooden black cat silhouette, and the Halloween themed flowers, the black and orange. Beauty too, having beauty in your garden. I found that what's
uh,
attracts me to the garden, to working in there. It's the beauty that attracts you to it. So it's,
how fun. Now, when you have classes, are they continuing classes or are they just single workshops? How does that structured?
well, it's a virtual program. It's online, and it's
Okay.
five modules. Like the kids, they um they can take it at their own speed.
Hmm.
If they want to take it with the live meetups with the gardening grandma, because they'll always have questions, and then it's usually over an 8-week period. But it takes them all the way from planning out their garden, figuring out what type they want, planning it out, getting that plan on paper, and starting to prepare everything. So they got everything in place. And we work with like the kids starting out too, working on getting them some early successes, so that they don't try something and it doesn't work and they just give up. I would love them to be lifelong gardeners. It's something that served me very well for my life, and I would love for them too to have that. So it's
Isn't
video modules with the gardening grandma. I take them around in my gardens, all the different places, and there's also like a comic style guide for them, to the written guidelines through there with comic pictures. to appeal to the kids. And yeah.
So how do you deal with, since it is virtual and people live in different climates, how do you address that?
Well, that's one of the lessons, is to know your climate. And there's
Mhm.
ways to do that. And that's part of having success in the garden, is to get to know your climate. And there's like the world weather online .org, I'm going to say, or it might be .com, but it's a place, or you can Google for your weather data. And so you can find the um, average temperatures, when the frosts come, um, rain falls, things like that for your specific area. And another part of the lessons is getting to know your plants. So know what are your cold weather plants, your warm weather plants. And then there's that sweet spot where anything will grow. So this is all part of the lessons, and really, it's like an up close connection with nature. You're part of that growing process, and getting to know your plants so you know what they need, when they need it, and what you want from the plant. If you're looking for basil. I love making pesto, and
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
so, basil, it's, you want those leaves. You don't want it to go to flower. So you're snipping off the flowers to keep them in the vegetative stage. Or if you're wanting like tomatoes, you want to get them to that flowering stage so they'll start producing. And I actually pull off some of the leaves so the energy doesn't go into the leaves, it goes into the fruit. So it's all lessons like that.
I would love to see this in every elementary school. I really would. I think it is such a needed skill set, and how fun. I
Oh,
mean, I can just my granddaughters recently at their school, they started a community garden just
oh,
in the side of their school. But because of the climate, I'm sure that it's probably as the snow comes, they may have to put that on hold. But I just saw the joy when I was up in New Jersey visiting, and they said, Gigi, you have to see our garden. And they were so excited, you know?
ah,
So I love what you do. That is so wonderful.
yeah,
So
really,
what's,
I
Mhm.
would say, I think every child, that I believe that every child should have gardening as part of their education. It should be,
Yes.
I find it just as important as math, science, and literacy. And actually, I built another program. So it's called Roots to Learning Academic Lessons Within Gardening. And so the
Oh,
kids,
wow.
extension from the Got Dirt Gardening for Kids program. So the kids are learning that life skill of gardening and growing their own food. And I I, I highlight the different academic objectives, guidelines, and activities in each module of that course for the parents to see that the kids can be learning their math here. They can be learning their science here. They can be learning literacy, having their journals, reading the seed packs. It's reading books on
Oh
gardening.
my gosh, I so agree with you 1000%. If only we could get that whole that whole topic incorporated into the school systems. I tell you, it would be wonderful. I love learning it, you know, but this is wonderful. So, is there something you would like to, I know we talked about offering the viewers today something from you. Is there something you would like to share with them?
Yeah, I have. I've created the Gardening with Kids playbook. That's a step-by-step guide.
Oh,
And I
cool.
love to, if you want to garden with kids, pick up a copy, and um, the link is provided, will be provided
Hmm.
a link, or shall
We're going to have all of the links for everything that you're offering in the show notes. So everybody will be able to grab that real quick. I'm sure it's going to be, everybody's going to want it for the kids. It's just so perfect.
And it gets something in there too, you know, as the changing seasons here, and we live in a very cold climate here, so I start moving things indoors. But one of the things, even like if you don't have a outdoor garden, or you're in an apartment, or it's winter outside, you're growing indoors, sprouts. And even with the kids, have them grow sprouts while they're waiting for those other plants, you know, because they do become quite impatient. It takes a while. And so, but if you can grow some sunflower sprouts, I love to grow with the kids, because it's 6 days, you can have an
Wow,
instant
that's
garden
it.
and be eating those sunflower sprouts. So it's,
That is great, great. Well, I am so happy to have been able to introduce you to everyone here. And I know that people are going to be wanting to follow you and get your books. I would imagine those books will be a wonderful gift for the holidays as well. So thank you again for all that you're doing for our children, for sure, and for adults as well.
you betcha. And I'm always happy to share and talk about gardening.
Thank you.